Transistor. These three people, John Burden, Walter Bretton, and William Shockley, they invented transistor in 1956. Now let's understand what transistor consists of. Basically, transistor will consist of two diodes connected back to back. How they are connected? So here I take PN junction, another NP junction, and you connect it back to back in this manner. Okay, it creates something called as transistor. So such transistor will be called as PNP transistor. It would have been other way around also, NP joining with PN, and ultimately you can see the transistor which comes out is NPN. So the combination can be of two types, PNP transistor or NPN transistor here in this case. Let's understand uh, how the transistor works basically, or what exactly is the construction in greater detail. So when we are talking about NPN type of transistor, here you can see P type of material is sandwiched between two N type material. Therefore, we will call it as NPN transistor. So similarly, let's talk about PNP transistor. Now here you can see N type of material is sandwiched between two P type of materials, and therefore we will call such transistor as PNP transistor. Basically, transistor will consist of three parts. The first part is emitter, denoted by capital P. Second one is base, denoted by capital B, and the third part is collector, C. The functions of emitter and collector are: emitter will either emit electrons or holes. The function of emitter is to emit electrons or holes. The base is made to pass most of these electrons to the collector, and the collector's function is to collect these electrons or holes from the base. So basically, these are the this is the utility of the three parts of the transistor. This is how a transistor looks like in practice. Here, E stands for emitter, B stands for base, and C stands for collector. Let's talk about the details of emitter. Now, emitter is a semiconductor basically whose width would be kept medium and doping would be maximum. Why doping is maximum? Because emitter is supposed to emit maximum number of holes or electrons. When we talk about the base, the width is minimum and the doping is also minimum. Why? Because we want all the electrons emitted by the emitter to surpass base, and via base it has to go to collector. So therefore you can see the width of the collector is maximum and the doping is medium in this case. The thickness of the base is 10 raised to minus 6 centimeter. You can have a look at it. Now let's talk about NPN transistor. So basically you can see when we talk about NPN transistor, the emitter would be of medium thickness, is denoted by E. The base is of less thickness, denoted by B. The collector is of greater thickness, denoted by C. Let's put it in form of a circuit. Here you can see in symbol, NPN transistor would be looking somewhat like this, where the arrow is moving out from the emitter. What does that mean? It means the emitter is emitting electrons in this case. So this is the symbol representing NPN transistor. Let's talk about PNP transistor then similarly. So in PNP transistor, you can see these are the holes basically, and the base would comprise of N type of material, that means electrons. So you can have a look at it. The symbol for PNP transistor would somewhat look like here. Instead of arrow moving out, the arrow would be moving in so far as the emitter is concerned. Why? Because the uh, electrons are moving in the direction opposite to what it was in the earlier case. So this is the symbolic representation in a circuit for PNP transistor. Now, basically, one needs to understand transistor will have three modes of operation. So here you can see when we put the transistor in the circuit, base and emitter can form input, and base and collector can form output if it is common base. So base is common for input as well as output. So this configuration will be called as common base. So you can see base is kept common for the input and output. So this is the first mode of operation. The second mode of operation can be common emitter. Now here you can see emitter is kept common for the input and output. The input would be given to the base and emitter, whereas the output would be seeked across the collector and emitter. So in such configuration, we will call it as common emitter, where emitter is kept common for the input and output. This is the second mode of operation of a transistor. The third mode of the operation can be common collector. Now here you can see the collector is kept common for the input and output. So if that is the situation, then we will call it as common collector mode of operation. So these are the three mode of operations in which this NPN transistor can work. So let's talk about the biasing of a transistor. Now because there are two parts, you can have a look at it once again. The first part would be input and the second part would be output. Signals would be given across input and the amplified signals would be seeked across as output. So here you can see, we can just put it in a tabular form how the biasing of the transistor can be done and what will be the outcome of it. So if input is forward bias and output is also forward bias, then the result will be the maximum current flowing through the circuit. We will call it as saturation mode. So again I repeat, if the input is forward bias and the output is forward bias, the result will be maximum current flowing through the circuit. We call it as saturation mode. If input is reverse bias and output is reverse bias, then there won't be any current flowing through the circuit. We call it as cutoff mode. So these two configurations, we can use it where we can use this transistor as a switch in an electric circuit. A switch will ensure whether the current flows to the circuit or it won't flow to the circuit. Then the next consideration is input is forward bias, output is reverse bias. In such situation, we call it as active mode. Active mode means here the amplification can be done for a signal. So transistor can be used as an amplifier. If input is reverse bias and output is forward bias, we will call it as inverse active mode. So here the signals won't get amplified. So these are the four combinations possible for the utilization of a transistor. So here you can have a quick look at it. For amplifier, we will be using specifically the active mode. And for a switch, as I have said, we will be using the saturation or cutoff mode. So based on which mode we put the transistor in will suffice our need so far as the design of the circuit is concerned. So in the working of a transistor, emitter based junction is forward biased, while collector based junction is reverse biased. They are talking about the active mode and why. We all know the emitter will send the majority carriers. Now the majority carriers can be either electrons or holes towards the base. Now this can happen only when it is forward biased. Therefore, always the input should be forward biased. Whereas the collector is supposed to collect the carriers, okay, majority carriers, may it be holes or electrons. And this can happen only when it is reverse biased. That's the basic reason, half part of it. Input has to be forward biased and the output has to be reverse biased for putting the transistor into active mode for amplification. So here you can have a look at it, how the circuit diagram would look like. So you can have a look at it. You are putting it in forward bias condition. That means P is connected to positive terminal and N is connected to negative terminal. So far as input part is concerned. So far as the output part is concerned, P is connected to negative terminal of the cell and N is connected to positive terminal. Now what happens? The electrons, they will move towards the base. And therefore, it will constitute current called as emitter current, which is represented by IE over here. This is the direction in which it will flow. There would be some base current flow, but then it will be very less. Why? Because we have designed the base in such a way that less base current flows, because majority the base is designed to push all these electrons towards the collector, and when it pushes it towards the collector, it results in collector current, IC. The same thing is being represented here. This was for common base over here. You can have a look at it. Okay, so IB represents base current, IE represents emitter current, and IC represents collector current. So here you can have a look at it. Across this resistor, we connect this entire circuit, the output, to the load resistor. We call it as load resistor. We want to seek the output across the load resistor, whereas we are going to give the signals just like this signal, alternating signal, to the input. So let's discuss the action of NPN transistor quickly. So let's have a look at it. Okay, so here just now I have said how the currents would be constituted. IE stands for the emitter current, IB stands for the base current, and IC stands for the collector current. Here we have a specific idea with us. Emitter based junction is forward bias, whereas the collector based junction is reverse bias. That means active mode is in operation. So you can see how the currents are constituted. We have discussed this. So IE represents emitter current. IB represents base current. So you can see only few electrons will recombine with the holes, and this will constitute small base current. And that means remaining electrons would enter the collector region constituting IC, that is the collector current. So in general, can we place it in form of an equation using law of conservation of charge, that IE, whatever was emitted, was equal to IB plus IC. So we place an equation over here, IE equal to IB plus IC, where IE is the emitter current, IB is the base current, and IC is the collector current. So how we estimate gain? Okay, so gain is just like the efficiency, output upon input. So when we are talking about current gain, it will be output current across divided by input current. Now for common base mode, if the base is common, then the current gain is given by the notation alpha. Now how you represent alpha? Basically, alpha is the current gain, which is given as the ratio of collector current to emitter current. Collector current divided by emitter current is alpha for common base mode. Alright, so here you can see the base is common. Whereas when we talk about common emitter mode, the current gain is given in terms of beta. Now how you place it? Okay, when the emitter is common. So here in this diagram you can see the emitter is common. And then beta, that is the current gain factor, is given by the ratio of collector current to the base current. So IC by IB. Let's establish the relationship between alpha and beta. So alpha was the current gain factor when base was common, and beta is the current gain factor when emitter is common. So let's have a relationship between alpha and beta over here. So you can see again, we recall the previous concept. Alpha is IC divided by IE, and beta is IC divided by IB. We have the basic equation IE equal to IC plus IB. So let's divide this entire equation by IC. When you do that, you get the equation as IE by IC equal to 1 plus IB divided by IC. But IE by IC, you can see it's 1 by alpha. Similarly, IB by IC is 1 by beta. You can just put it over here in the equation. So 1 by alpha will be equal to 1 plus 1 by beta. Simplify it. Take the LCM. And you get the relation between alpha and beta as alpha equal to beta upon 1 plus beta. Or it can be worked out other way around also. Here in this equation, you place it this way: 1 upon alpha minus 1 equal to 1 by beta. Shuffle everything in terms of 1 by beta. Take the LCM and you will get beta equal to alpha upon 1 minus alpha, where alpha is the current gain factor for common base configuration and beta is the current gain for common emitter. Normally, the manufacturer keeps the value for alpha between 0.92 to 0.98, and that for beta is of order 100. So beta is kept more as compared to alpha. The important thing to be noted here is the small change in the base current will always cause large change in the collector current. So beta is IC divided by IB, where IC is the collector current and IB is the base current. So if I want the collector current here, you can see collector current will be equal to beta multiplied by IB. So even if there is small change in base current, because of beta being kept larger, you can see the collector current would be greater, and that's how the signal would be amplified. So V is more than 100, right? So for example, if IB was 10 microampere and beta is 100, so IC becomes equal to 1 milliampere. So 100 times more, more than that, not only 100 times, more than that. So that's how you can see the signal is being amplified. Let's take another example. If the base current is 20 microampere, then the collector current, because beta is 100, comes out to be 2 milliampere. So this is how the current gets magnified because of beta being kept more than 100. So let's talk about amplifier. Amplifier is a circuit which will convert weak signal into a strong signal. So in day-to-day life, we constantly use this uh, device amplifier. So let's understand how NPN transistor can be used as a common emitter amplifier. In common emitter, so emitter will be common to output and input. So here you can have a look at it. Input is given forward bias and emitter is common to input as well as emitter is common to the output. So the circuit diagram would look somewhat like this. So to be more specific, voltage, the input signal will be given across VBB, whereas the output will be seeked across the load resistor RL. You can have a look at it. So the input signal is given here and it gets out, amplified over here as output voltage. How it happens, we want to get into the greater discussion. So VI is the input, causes base current to flow, IB is the base current, IC is the collector current, and IE is the emitter current with the corresponding directions, specified directions here. Let's go for the detailed working. We get the amplified output voltage across the load resistor. So what exactly we do over here? So the battery VBB is connected in series with input. So here you can see it's connected in series with input and VI is the input signal. It keeps the emitter base junction always forward bias. So emitter base junction, that is the input part, is always kept forward bias. Similarly, emitter collector junction is kept reverse bias with the VCC. So the battery VCC keeps the base collector junction reverse bias. IB is the input current, you can see. So here IB represents input current and IC is the output current. So we have seen how IC becomes magnified as compared to IB. A small change in IB will create large change in IC. So VBE, you can consider it as, okay, so potential between B and E will be considered as input voltage, whereas VCE, the potential between the collector and emitter, will be considered as output voltage. Now, we know very well, since output is reverse bias, resistance will be maximum. Resistance will be maximum. So RL will be maximum. Why? Because the output is reverse bias. So let's have a look at it. The principle on which the common emitter amplifier will work. Small change in the base current, that is delta IB, causes large change in the collector current, that is delta IC. So what happens during a positive half cycle? Say here an alternating source input is given Vi. So during the positive half cycle, forward bias on emitter base junction. So EB means emitter base junction increases. Now if the forward bias increases, more electrons flow from emitter to collector. So therefore the collector current will also increase, and thus the voltage drop across the RL will also increase. Why? Because V naught will be equal to V naught means V output is equal to IC into RL, because RL will be maximum because of the reverse bias condition for output. IC is also maximum in this case. Therefore, output will be maximum. So this happens during positive half cycle. Now, what happens during negative half cycle? During negative half cycle, exactly opposite thing happens. The forward bias on the emitter base junction decreases. Very less electrons will flow from emitter to collector. Therefore, IC will also decrease, and correspondingly, the voltage drop across RL will also decrease. So again, the understanding is V output is IC into RL. Because RL is maximum but IC is minimum, VO becomes minimum. So again, we repeat the same principle which is being utilized over here. Small change in the base current at delta IB caused by Vi here in this case causes large change in collector current, that is delta IC. Thus causes large change in voltage drop, and that's how a signal is being amplified. So in conclusion, you can say amplified signal across the load resistances obtained. So how the amplified signal would be? Obviously, here you can see the input signal was being supplied to the amplifier, and the amplifier amplifies it in this manner. But then the output is 180 degrees out of phase. You compare it with input. So let's talk about common emitter characteristics diagram. Let's discuss common emitter characteristics diagram. So here is a diagram where the emitter is grounded or connected to ground. And you'll be seeking the output across the load resistor over here. VCC stands for output. This part resembles the input. So first we will discuss input characteristics of common emitter. What are input characteristics? Let's understand that. So basically it's a graph of input current versus input voltage. Again I repeat, it is the graph of input current versus input voltage by keeping output voltage constant. So in simple terms, you can say the graph of IB versus VB. Let's go back to the diagram. Graph of IB versus VB, and that too by keeping clearly VCE constant. So the output voltage constant. Now, why the output voltage is kept constant? We all know input will be proportional to output. If output is not kept constant, obviously it's going to affect the input. So we don't want the input to get affected, and that's why the condition is maintained that the output voltage is constant. Now, maintaining this condition, we are going to draw this graph. Let's see how the graph looks like. So the first step, you keep VCE. VCE means the output voltage constant. So for first value, say constant. Then start increasing VBE and correspondingly measure IB for VCE1. Similarly, then this procedure is repeated for another constant value of VCE. Let's say VCE2. Again, you will increase VBE and measure corresponding IB. Follow this procedure. So when you follow this procedure and then you draw a graph, the graph looks somewhat like this. So here you can see on x-axis you are plotting VDE, on y-axis you are plotting the base current IB in microampere obviously. And these are the two graphs for the two different constant values for VCE1 and VCE2. So the output voltage was kept constant. Now under the given scenario, you can see the slope is delta IB divided by delta VB in this case. And resistance will be 1 by slope as per Ohm's law. So the input resistance can be then mentioned as delta VB by IB in this case. 1 by slope. So take the reciprocal of it. And this input resistance is equal, you are taking it when you are keeping the output voltage constant. So this is how you understand input characteristics. Let's talk about the output characteristics of common emitter configuration. So what are the output characteristics then? So again, it's a graph. Graph of what? Graph of output current now. Instead of input, here it is output current versus output voltage. And you keep input current constant. In simple words, it's a graph of IC versus VCE, keeping IB constant, the base current constant. Now, why input current is to be kept constant? The reason behind it is if we keep input voltage constant, we can't vary the output voltage. Therefore, why we cannot vary the output voltage? Because the input voltage is proportional to output voltage. So you cannot keep input voltage constant. Therefore, we are putting input current as constant over here to see the characteristics. So what are the steps then? So step one, you keep the base current constant and correspondingly you increase the VCE. VCE means the potential across collector and emitter and measure corresponding collector current. So keep on increasing VCE and measure collector current. The procedure is repeated for different values of IB and the output characteristics are obtained. When I say output characteristics, that means the graph of output current versus output voltage. Let's see how the graph looks like. You get a graph somewhat like this. On x-axis, you are plotting VCE. Y-axis, the collector current. And for different constant base currents, you can see the graph looks somewhat like this. How you place the output characteristics? They are not the input characteristics. We'll make that correction. The output characteristics. So our output in this case will be delta VCE by delta IC. Okay. Have a look at it. So in between, when you study the input and output characteristics, we need to understand a concept called as current transfer characteristics. Now, obviously, the current transfer will happen between the input and output, right? So here, how we obtain current transfer characteristics? So by plotting a graph of collector current versus the base current when VC is kept constant. So you can see, so you plot the graph between the collector current and the base current and keep VC constant. The slope of it will give you IC by IB. So IC by IB is nothing but beta and gives you current gain. So here, current transfer characteristics between input and output can be obtained in terms of current gain. Let's understand how we use transistor as a switch. So here you can see the input characteristics. Okay, the input part, the emitter base part is reverse bias. Okay, so that is important to be noted over there. Then here you can see both NPN or PNP. We call it as bipolar transistors. They are made to operate as an on and off type solid state switch for controlling high power devices such as motors and lamps. So automatic switch we have for motors and lamps. So they are the transistors basically. So normally whenever you operate transistor in cutoff region or saturation region, it will work as a switch. And the circuit diagram for transistor as a switch is being given to you. So here you can see there is a load resistor connected in series across the collector part basically. and the base and the emitter is reverse bias. Okay, so RB over here, resistance of base, you can have a look at it. So we will apply Kirchhoff's voltage law to the output part. Now when I'm saying output part is emitter collector. Alright. So let's apply. When you apply Kirchhoff's voltage law, we know VCC would be equal to IC into RL plus VCC. When you apply this Kirchhoff's voltage law, we'll come across this. Together, this has to be equated to 0. But then when you shuffle it in terms of VCC, you look in this manner. You put it in terms of VCE. What happens is you can place it as VCC minus IC into RL. So let's have an analysis over here. So what happens when the input voltage is 0? So if VI is 0, obviously the base current will be 0. If base current is 0, the collector current is 0. If collector current is 0, this part will vanish. So in that case, the voltage across collector and emitter, that is VCE, will be equal to VCC over there. Whatever is the voltage across collector emitter will be equal to voltage across the collector, that is source voltage, we can say. The second part of the analysis, that this, let's understand the analysis of it. So can I say when Vi is 0, no current flows through the transistor and the load? Entire voltage develops across the transistor. And this is the condition similar to an open switch. Open switch means off. So whenever a switch has to operate as an off condition or open switch, this is to be followed. Okay, the collector current will be 0. When can collector current be 0? When VOO will be equal to VCC. That happens. You can see the collector current has to be 0 because the base current will be 0. So this is how we can put it off. The switch is put off. Let's say how it would be on then. If Vi, the input is positive and obviously greater than 0.7 volt, we will find that the base current starts flowing. The moment base current starts flowing, it forces the transistor to move into saturation zone, and large current flows through the transistor and the load resistor. The entire source voltage will get developed across the transistor in this situation. And this is the condition similar to a closed switch. Closed in the sense the operational, on, which is on. So transistor switches, this is how you can use a transistor as a switch. And the transistor switches have advantage of high speed operation and obviously convenience of electronic control, you can say. Automatic switches are more preferred.